Hi, good night, guys. Hope all is well. I'm just going to answer a question that was proposed to me pretty quickly. How to do the MRCS examination on a budget. So, it's a pretty expensive examination, and depending on where you have done it, you would have to fly up to the UK. I'm talking specifically about the MRCS OSCE. Now, the OSCE is, give or take, call it £1,000. You have to fly up for the exam, which is another £1,000. You have to find some place to stay, which can go up to about £1,000 again as well too. So that's about £3,000 just for that alone. Despite that, you still have to look for money for traveling because traveling in the UK is pretty expensive. And this is specifically for those who are taking the exam in the UK. Now, after you've taken the exam, most persons try to, well, not after, but just prior to the examinations, most persons are trying to figure out if they should have taken a preparation course. My thing is this: if you are working in a surgical post already, do you really think you need a preparation course? Because if you're working in a post for a particular length of time, you should have gathered enough skills to, for instance, whether it be suturing, chest tube placement, things like that are normally done in a general surgical rotation. So if you feel as though you need to do a surgical preparation course, well, go ahead and do it. And I think that's an individual decision. But for me, I had to do the exam on a budget, so I was unable to do the preparation courses which were offered in the UK. So I would have to fly up twice. So I would have to fly up for that exam. Prior to that, I would have to fly up for the preparation course, which aren't cheap exams, are cheap courses. So for me, the only way I would have felt as though I should have gone up and done a preparation course would have been if I was, for instance, not working in a training post at that point in time in my life. Or, for instance, those who are already living in the UK and to get to a training center isn't too far off, then you should definitely take a training course. But for those that are not living outside, or that are living outside of the Caribbean or living outside of the UK, sorry, it's a bit of a stretch. If you have the money, definitely do it. If you don't have the money, don't feel as though you cannot prosper or get a passing grade in the MRCS OSCE. As for practice, for the MRCS Part A, I would advise you to do as many questions as you can. And these questions can range specifically your weak points. If you know you're weak at anatomy, every single time you start your MRCS question banks at the anatomy section, do it with a netters. Once they say something is found, particularly if for instance they say this, the subclavian vein is found anterior to the subclavian artery, try to find it in the netters and then relate back to the questions as much as possible. Some of the questions that come on the MRCS OSCE or even the MRCS Part A exam, the written, it's not just a simple what is this and what is that. They'll say something like, for instance, a person was stabbed in their neck and they're bleeding from a vein that lies anterior to the subclavian artery, or say anterior to an artery in the neck, and then they would say a muscle lies between these two, something like that. Don't expect them to say what is this, what is that. It's not going to be like that. They'll give you an instance of damage to the humerus, mid shaft of the humerus. Just it's not going to come at you like, what is this? Just remember that. Just remember also that the exam is expensive, like I said. It's a lot of money. And you want to do it once. So to do it once, if you don't feel as though you can take the examination at X time, don't feel pressured to do the examination. It's best to take it once and pass than to have to take it multiple times. And take it from me, who spent a lot of money for the Part A, because I failed the Part A initially and then I had to repeat it last year and I passed it the second time. Part B, I made sure that I gave myself a lot of time to study. And that's how I ended up passing that first try. So make sure you give yourself enough time to study. That's the best thing you can do. People around you might be taking the exam and they might have spent more time or had more revision time. Don't rush and do it just because your friends are doing it. And I've seen people do that before too. Another thing too, there are a lot of conflicting there is a lot of conflicting information in the forums with regards to whether or not to do specific Q banks. If you have the money at that point in time to do every Q bank, do all the Q banks. That will be the EMRCS, British Medical Journal, as well as the PASS test. Do not limit yourself because you've heard that a Q bank isn't as good as this. If you have the resources, do all three. And the reason why I say this, like most of these exams, like USMLE, MRCS, PLAB, the more questions you do, the better off you are for the Part A. Pass the MRCS is very good for the Part B. The more questions you do, the more you're prepared for what they throw at you in the examination. That's just how it is. Hope this helps. Stay tuned for more videos.